Hi, this is Alex Mahoney with Coda Financial Coaching, where we talk all things budgeting, savings, investing, and your path to financial freedom. And today I wanted to talk about how social media is absolutely ruining our finances, but probably not quite in the way that you'd think. So typically when we think of social media ruining our finances, we think of the constant marketing that we're being sent to buy stuff that we don't need. And more importantly, the fact that we see people that we know and admire flaunting their wealth either through buying a high-end Tesla, leasing a high-end Beamer or a Mercedes-Benz, or maybe that person that goes to a restaurant and they always have their Kate Spade handbag right there next to their entree in the Instagram photo, right? So those are kind of the obvious examples of how social media really encourages us to not keep to a budget and not really think smartly about our financial future. But I was listening to a podcast by this gentleman who had moved to Brazil as an entrepreneur, and he was talking about some of the things that drove him away from the US. And one word that he used really stuck with me, and that was the over-aestheticization of American society. And really, that's just a fancy word for saying that every aspect of our lifestyle, not just what we purchase, but the college that we go to and the career that we choose, are not done in our own interest, but they're done through the filter of a social media world and what we project through social media. And what he was talking about is the fact that if you work for a investment banking firm or a high-end marketing agency or a boutique law firm, you're going to have lots more opportunities to project a glamorous lifestyle to your friends and family. You're going to have a lot more temptations to project that as well. And that drives you to really go into that career, go get that 4-year college degree, go way into debt, and then get that graduate degree. And that is for some people like, hey, if you want to go in and that's truly the career for you, all the power to you, right? You're going to have to climb out of debt, but you're probably going to be making lots of money and good for you. But the fact is that isn't for everybody. And we have a huge shortage of workers in not only a lot of blue collar trades now, but some, kind of simpler, more low key white collar trades too, such as accountants, which is what I was trained as. Believe it or not, there's a shortage of accountants in this country, right? And these don't require you to have this big fancy Ivy League education or a private school education, but a lot of people are choosing to do that anyway because they want to be able to project this fancy image, even if they end up hating that career, even if they end up getting burned out. So that's to say that we should really be making choices based on something that really fits us and also something that actually may make more financial sense to go into one of these trades. And I just want to illustrate that through an example and probably actually really get to the source of people's frustration, especially with all of the college debt they have to get out of. And if you really look at the numbers of what we see with having to go get that fancy education to get that quote unquote dream job, it's easy to see, and it's actually like quite more astounding than you'd ever imagine, running the numbers on going into a trade where you can start earning money right away versus a career that you're not going to be able to start working until 26 with a bunch of debt. So let's get into that scenario right now. So let's say you have somebody in the trades, whether that's plumbing, electrician, oil rig worker, welder, something like that. All of these jobs have the ability to make actually well into the 6 figures, especially if you end up owning your own business, right? But for our purposes, we're just going to say that this trade worker starts in the workforce at age 18, earning $50,000 a year. And obviously they don't have any debt because they're being more or less trained on the job, right? So they're starting at age 18. They're saving 10% of their money. They're able to save, I should say, 10% of their money if they're smart, if they're following, the standard Ramsey baby steps, they're doing that, right? So they're saving 10% of their annual salary, and that salary is growing, let's just say 3% a year. Now let's take a look at the person who went to college and then went to graduate school. So they actually start in the workforce at age 26, and they're making $100,000 right out of graduate school. So they're making double what the person who started at age 18 started with, right? And they also are growing their salary at 3% a year, just based on the normal progression of their career. So, but they have to pay down all of that college and graduate debt, right? So they actually can't start saving until they're well into their 30s. It takes them 10 years to pay down that full debt. So when you run the numbers and you just assume normal market returns, that they're investing in an index fund that's getting them, 7% a year, you would probably be amazed to learn that the trade worker is going to end up with $2,679,000, whereas the college graduate, the person who had the fancy office job, they had the happy hours, they had the nice meals with colleagues and clients, whatever, they only end up at the retirement age of 65 at $2,774,000, which is a lot, but it's less than $100,000 more than the trade worker who started at age 18. And there we see people's frustration, right? And lack of knowledge about how much it's really affecting to go to these colleges that put you so into debt, only to get in the job that you may be stuck in an office from 9 to 5 and not have flexibility in, whereas the trade worker potentially has his own schedule or her own schedule. They're contracting, so they can pretty much work when they want. They have other benefits that white-collar worker wouldn't have. So just let that burn into your brain a little bit, though, that the trade worker only ends up about $90,000 less than the college graduate at the end of their working career. And with that, I just want to encourage you, if you're on the fence about, if you're young and you're on the fence about going to college, or you're, what career you want to choose, really think about how much of it is tied up in your own ego and your wanting to project an image, a lifestyle, a brand, as they say so much on platforms like LinkedIn, versus what career is actually good for you, your lifestyle, and your finances. And I will tell you, if I could go back and do it again, I would still be an accountant, but I would not go and do that through a 4-year degree, right? I would not be hunting and begging for scholarships and leaning on my parents to help me out with a private school education. I would have gone to a JCO, or I would have gotten the certification online and started in the workforce a lot earlier. So just some thoughts today, or for today, about how social media really is harming our ability to make good choices, not only in our purchases, but in our career, which of course affects our finances and our ability to budget.